What if missing your goal was never the real failure? I've been thinking about that this week. 6 months ago, I set a goal for this channel. I said by the middle of the year, I wanted to reach 200 subscribers. And the reason I said it out loud wasn't because I thought that target was guaranteed, but because when you give yourself a target, you have something to measure yourself against. And well, 6 months later, I didn't come close. In fact, this channel only grew by about 10 subscribers, so if you judge it purely on the number, I've failed miserably. And strangely enough, I don't feel disappointed. When I stopped looking at the number and started looking at the person chasing it, I realized something. I'm not the same person who set those goals 6 months ago. Back then, I felt uncomfortable speaking to this camera. I'd overthink every sentence, I'd question whether doing any of this was worth it. But today, I don't think twice before I hit record. I feel a lot more comfortable expressing myself. I think I've become a lot more reflective. In fact, it's forced me to organize my thoughts instead of letting them drift in my head. It's even encouraged me to build and share my thoughts elsewhere, something that's grown exponentially compared to this channel. And I think that's what people miss. Your goals aren't always useful because you reach them. Sometimes they're useful because they reveal who you're becoming while chasing them. And it gives you a good reason to come back and ask better questions, like what worked? What needs adjusting? What am I actually trying to get out of this? Because setting a target isn't just about measuring success. Sometimes it's about deciding whether the journey is still worth pursuing. And I think that's an important question to revisit frequently. Sometimes you've just learned what you needed to learn. And sometimes it's okay to move on. But the other times you realize the numbers want the complete picture. This channel hasn't grown the way I thought it would. But it has given me something I wouldn't have been able to measure 6 months ago. It's given me perspective. It's given me confidence. It's given me a record of how I think. Something I can come back to years from now to see who I was becoming. And every now and then someone reaches out and tells me that these videos have been helping them. Maybe it changed the way they looked at something. Maybe it gave them a different perspective. But for me, that's enough of a reason to keep going. So I guess the better question isn't whether you've achieved all of the goals that you've set, but rather, if you never tried, what version of yourself would you have never met? Think about it. And thank you for listening. I'll see you guys next week.